Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today I'm going to do a video ranking my NOMAD cosmetics palettes. I floated out the idea of ranking my NOMAD palettes in one of my recent NOMAD reviews, and a couple people said they would be interested in that. I love doing favorites videos, I love doing top 10 videos, I love doing ranking videos. I just find these to be really helpful in fleshing out my thoughts on a certain type of product, on a certain brand, and I hope that they're really helpful for you too. So this is basically going to be a mini ranking because I only have 7 NOMAD cosmetics palettes. Most of these are their newer palettes. NOMAD is a brand that I only really recently in the last year or so got very interested in. And I definitely fell hard and fast for NOMAD Cosmetics as a brand, but that does mean that most of my palettes that I have here are their more recent releases. The oldest one I have is the Haunted Europe palette. It took me a while to get here, but I'm finally on board. I know the NOMAD train left the station a long time ago, but I'm finally on board. I really, really love the brand, and I want to preface this ranking by saying, of the 7 palettes that I have here, there's not really a bad one. There's no duds here. Even the ones that rank lower for me are still really good palettes. I still like them, and, you know, frankly, just to spoil it, this Santa's Village palette that I have in my last spot, the number 7 spot, I still gave this a good review. I still liked it. I think I'm one of the few people on YouTube that did give this palette a good review, and that's my least favorite one. So even the palettes that are ranked lower are still really phenomenal palettes. This is all about personal taste. Performance-wise, I find the brand to be very consistent. So it really just comes down to personal preference, color choice, preference for finishes and packaging and things like that. So now that I have disclaimed the disclaimers for my disclaimers, let's get into the palette ranking, starting with spot number 7, which, as I have already told you, is this limited edition Santa's Village palette. I really like the packaging on this palette, and overall I really like the idea of this palette. Once I first glanced inside, I did feel a little bit confused or just not really excited by the color story inside. The mixture of colors and finishes just felt a little bit off to me. We have these 2 really bold, colorful mattes, 2 gray mattes, and then a whole bunch of very shimmery topper type of shades. It just felt weird. The more I played with it, the more I layered the shades, the more I understood what this palette's really going for. And you can see more about that in my in-depth video. I have really in-depth reviews for almost all of these palettes. Now that I've used it more and I feel like I understand it more, I definitely have grown to appreciate it more. But for me, I just feel like it's the color of the mattes that don't quite hit right, just for me personally. Spot number 6, this is really just about color preferences for me. This palette is super cute, super beautiful. It's just not the highest ranking color story for me, and that's why in spot number 6 we have the Paradise Islands palette. This is such a light and bright color palette, and the performance of the shades is really beautiful. I actually really like a lot of the colors in here. It's just lacking some basics that I really need, which I know is going to sound ironic because later I'm going to complain about another palette having too many neutrals, but this one is just too much pastel. And I don't really go for a very pastel, very neon type of vibe. But I do think that these shadows are really beautiful. I like the overall color story. It's just not quite balanced enough for me. Versus something like the Cloud Forest palette, their Costa Rica palette, for example, which does have some of these bright, bold, really colorful pops, but it also has some more grounding shades. And that one ranks higher for me just based on color story alone, but this is really pretty. In spot number 5 is the Haunted Europe palette. I have to say, overall, this is one of my favorite inspirations as far as the theme goes. The color story is a lot more my style, but I do think that as far as the 7 palettes I have, performance-wise, this is the least impressive. And there were just some things I would have tweaked to make this a little bit more creepy, a little bit more spooky. I've already gone over this in a video. This was actually the first Nomad palette that I ever purchased, and I do like it. There are just some things I would change to tweak it so that I would love it, and that's why the Haunted Europe palette is in spot number 5. I know I just said that the Paradise Islands palette didn't have enough neutrals for me, and this one I think has maybe a little bit too many neutrals. Now, I love the theme. I would love to see this type of theme come back. If you know me, you know I love Halloween. I love spooky things. I love the whole idea here. This packaging is amazing. They knocked it out of the park. Inside too, the imprints that are in the shadows are so cute, so beautiful. I really, all around, want to be all in on this palette, and I don't dislike it, but there are a couple things that just keep me from being really in love with it. The 2 golds in here are way too similar for me. A lot of the neutrals I feel like just bring the palette down instead of rounding it out well. And I don't really feel like the color scheme as a whole is as appealing or as cohesive as I want it to be. I would love for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th columns, this little like square 9 pan, I would love for that to be the color scheme and then that to be more expanded upon. It's just a little bit too all over the place and it doesn't feel focused and special like I really want it to be, but I still like it again. Sitting right in the middle of my ranking at spot number 5 is their Cloud Forest palette, the Costa Rica palette. This one is still really bright colors, similar to the Paradise Islands palette, the Bora Bora one, but this one is mixed in with a couple of more grungy neutrals. For me, personally, when I could visually rearrange the shades in this palette, it made me like it a lot more. It looks really crazy and scattered and colorful the way that it's laid out. But when I was able to rearrange the shadows in here, which I only did on Photoshop, I didn't rearrange the shades in my actual palette for video purposes. I try to keep my palettes all intact. But this one really grew on me, as did the one in spot number 3, which we'll talk about next after I show you the Cloud Forest palette. First of all, I love sloths. The sloth is my favorite animal. People in my family always give me sloth stuff every year for like Christmas or my birthday. So they really already had me on the hook for this one. I love the reveal here when the sort of misty fog of the outer packaging is removed and we get this really rich, complex jungle type of scenery. I like the idea of some more neutral tones mixed in with some more bright, colorful tones, but even the neutrals are a bit of a color. I really like that here. I do feel like this is a well-rounded palette. It has a lot of beautiful greens in it. Personally, the color scheme is a little bit too scattered and all over the place for me. I would like to see these exact same shades laid out in just a more visually pleasing manner for my own personal eyeballs. But, you know, that's just one person's opinion. This definitely is bold and stunning and fun no matter what order the shades are in. And these greens are just killer. You're gonna notice all 3 of my top 3 Nomad palettes are in this 15 pan format. I really think this is when they shine as far as arranging colors, choosing color stories. This Snow Lodge palette is another one that really grew on me over time. Initially, I wasn't that drawn to the colors, but the more that I mixed these shades and these finishes together, and the more that I got a chance to really appreciate how great the formulas are in this palette, the more and more I love this one. And it takes a lot for me to love a very strong blue color story. So the Snow Lodge palette is really doing that work here in the top 3. This is one of my first Nomad palettes. I think the Haunted Europe one was the first one I got, but this was definitely really close to the beginning of my Nomad cosmetics journey. And I did not expect to like this palette. It's very blue heavy, Blue is not usually a color that I tend to gravitate towards, but the way that the blues are mixed in here with some really warm little touches of berry and gold and some beautiful varieties of greens and a couple little neutrals in here, it just has such a great balance. The finishes in here are absolutely delicious. These deep dark shades are so rich, and the way that these colors and textures all play together has just made me really love this palette so much more than I expected, and I love when something's better than I expect. Okay, if you've watched any of my Nomad reviews or my palette favorites type of videos, then the top 2 spots you've probably known what they were going to be before even clicking on this video. In spot number 2 is the Provence palette. I went nuts for this one when it came out, and I was raving about how it was my favorite Nomad palette ever. And then the very next one they came out with was the Hudson Valley palette, which is my favorite Nomad palette ever. So I genuinely have such a deep love for both of these. I do think these are not just within the Nomad brand, but overall for palette releases this year, 2 really great standouts. The packaging and the theming really pushes me over the edge to place the Hudson Valley palette in my number 1, but this is a close second. I think this is interesting, beautiful, stunning, useful, offbeat, beautiful cover art. It's just, this is a fantastic palette. Provence palette in spot number 2. When I see this cover art, it just instantly makes me feel so happy. It has such a vibrant, joyful, yet peaceful vibe. I absolutely love this palette. I went head over heels for this as soon as I saw the color combos, which a lot of people didn't love. A lot of people felt like the color combos in here were kind of weird. Maybe I'm just weird, which I'm fine with, but I love this interesting mix of colors that are actually not very out of the box. Typically, colors like pink and purple are very approachable for most people. They are sort of those comfort zone colors, and to mix those with this bright, bold yellow and these super cool tone grays, I just think it's very inspired. There's endless color combinations in here. This is laid out perfectly. My eyeball loves it. You can see the imprints are very well worn off because of how much I've used this palette. And when this came out, I was convinced this was my number 1 favorite. Now it's in the number 2 spot, and you'll see why. I know you just heard me raving about this when I was introducing my top 2 spots, but we're going to take a close-up look at my number 1 favorite, best palette from Nomad Cosmetics. It's official, it's a fact, it's not just my opinion. I'm just kidding. It's 100% just my opinion, but this is my number 1 Nomad palette. Look, I am a fall girl. I don't care if that's basic. I don't even think basic should be seen as an insult, but that's another conversation for another time. I love this fall packaging. I love everything about fall. I annoy my family so much in the fall time because I am absolutely beside myself excited for the leaves, for the colors, for the pumpkins, for the apples, for the crisp, warm. I love fall. I want to eat this palette simultaneously while I live inside of it. I don't think that makes sense, but if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. I love the mix of colors in here. Truly very autumnal colors mixed with some of these very interesting, cool toned matte shades. Every single shadow in here is absolutely a banger formula wise. The color combinations are endless. I feel just instantly happy as soon as I pick up this palette. I don't even have to open it. I just know it's going to be fun, it's going to be pretty, and I am going to enjoy it every time. I do have review videos for all of these palettes elsewhere on my channel, so I will link those in the description box if you're interested, if you want more information, swatches, all that kind of stuff, and hearing more, and if you want to hear more in-depth reviews and my thoughts on these palettes. Make sure you check the description box and I'll have all those videos linked down there for you. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about the Nomad Cosmetics palettes I have. What would your ranking be? What are your favorites? Do you have any that you really, really love that I don't have in my collection yet that you recommend I would pick up? I always love to hear what you think about things too, and I often shop based on your recommendations, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! My lipstick matches my shirt so well. Okay, sorry, I'm already distracted. Ranking my Nomads. What? That's really loud, huh? I'm just not gonna have time to finish this video. Why do I feel like I had more than that? Ugh, I'm really coming up against a lot of obstacles today. If it's not one thing, it's another. That was weird. That was a weird thing to say. It's so loud. Okay. We're gonna just have to do these as a voiceover because I have to leave soon, and oh my gosh, I'm getting so stressed out. I have my week planned, and my lawn care was not supposed to happen today, but due to weather, it had to, and this is my day to film, and I am in no way upset with the people that are out there working. I'm just upset with my schedule. I'm very stressed with my schedule being thrown off. It's November, okay, there's no time to waste. We got holiday releases on the Etsy shop. I am hosting both major holidays at my house. Plus, I have my job, which is making videos, the prime YouTube time, filming my collaborations for next month. I got a lot going on. I need my schedule to stay intact. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine. I love these little sneak earrings. They're so cute. It's really loud. I really wanted to get a whole nother video filmed today, but now I don't have time because I have to leave in like 5 minutes. I don't even know if I'm gonna get this intro finished in the next 5 minutes. Oh, it's a miracle I got it done. I have to leave like now, but I did it. I got it done. And also I match the packaging of this palette with my nails, with my makeup, with my shirt. Is it a coincidence? Yes, this time it is. But it's just because I like these colors. All right, I sincerely have to run. I have to go pick my kid up from school. I don't want to be late. I got stuff to do. Thanks so much for watching. You're so cool. I appreciate that. And you know what? I love your face. And I will see you real soon. And don't forget to go check out my Etsy shop because I have all kinds of cute holiday stuff. Okay, love your face. Bye.